Hello everyone and welcome back. You've seen the title of the video. Today we are talking about the keyframing, but before that I need to show you something. I need to show you some feature that is really interesting and probably very useful, but doesn't really deserve a separate video. I'm going to show you a feature that allows you to split your image into 3 channels. As you probably remember, each image consists of 3 separate channels, red, green and blue, and they combine together to form a final image. So there is a feature in DaVinci Resolve that allows us to separate them and work separately on each one of those. Why it is useful, I'm going to show you right now. This is the sound of my cat playing, if you're hearing, but that's fine. So let's do this. We are going to select a node that is already in here, press Alt Y. And this is going to create a splitter that is going to split our image into 3 separate channels. This is red, this is green, and the last one is blue. And this is combiner. It is going to combine all of the channels back to the image. So we can work on these separate channels separately. Yeah, quite heavy use of the word separate, but it's okay. So let's go to, for example, green channel, and let's go to the sizing node. We're going to need to select the node sizing because there are some editing sizing, input-output sizing. We need to select node sizing. And now we can go to zoom and zoom just a little bit to create a color separation, like so. This is like our character is on mushrooms and hallucinating, kind of cool effect that is heavily used in the movie industry. Let's do it something like 1.030. Yeah, something like that. But we do not want to create this effect on the whole image. We want to create this effect around our character. So what do? We create a circular window. I said we create a circle window. We're going to invert it by pressing this button, and we're going to position it onto our character. We're going to soften it quite a bit to something like this, for example. And we can track it. I'm not going to track it right now, but we can track it to stay on our character all the time. And now this is like a really hallucinating effect that is quite cool. Now, the topic of this video is keyframing. So we're going to animate something in here using the keyframes. This is the keyframe zone that is going to allow us to keyframe every parameter in the color page that we want. Wrong way in how I used to do, and maybe you have the urge to do the same thing, is to go in here, select any node that we want. In this particular instance, is this node. And I used to do it like this. I used to right-click in the master, add a dynamic keyframe, then move to a new position, change a parameter, for example, so something like this, then right-click in here, add dynamic parameter again, and this is animated. The problem with this approach is that it creates a lot of keyframes. It creates keyframe for every parameter that is in here, and we do not need a keyframe for every parameter. As you can see, every parameter now has a keyframe, which is actually doing nothing. So we are not going to use that. There is much better option how you can do that, which I'm going to show you. First of all, we have all of the parameters in here. So character 1, splitter, character 3, that is referring to the nodes that we have in the node editor. And we can animate each of them separately, and there is even a separate parameter for sizing. Now, we can expand it a little bit to view what we are actually doing in here. And the way how you can animate a certain parameter would be like so. You can go under a certain character. For example, I want to animate node number 4. So I can go to character number 4 and enable auto keyframing. If I click in here, now if I change something, the DaVinci is going to create a keyframe automatically. Let me show you that. I'm going, for example, to change zoom to previous default value, to value 1. Then I'm going to move my playhead to a new position, and I'm going to... No, this is not the default position. The default position is 0. Yeah, maybe 1. I don't remember. Anyways, we're going to create the effect, and DaVinci is going to auto keyframe only this parameter. Only, not this parameter, but only this node. If you unfold the node, you can see that only one parameter is being animated. But every parameter now has got an automatic keyframing. Now I can disable it, and we have an animation. Now, there is another way how you can do that. Let's undo all of that. You can choose a certain node that is actually selected right now that will be animated. To do that, you can go under All and select Color. Now, if I select a certain node, the DaVinci is going to assume that I'm going to animate this particular node, and it's going to highlight the node layer in green, meaning that I'm going to work only on this node, only animating parameters of this node. So let's animate a parameter in here. We're going to drag it to 1 to default position. Now let's right click, add a dynamic keyframe. In keyframe is being added only to the character number 4, which is what we need. We're going to move to a new position, change our zoom to 1.030, and right click in here, add dynamic keyframe. Not in here, but actually in here. Add dynamic keyframe. Now we have the same thing as before, but created kind of differently. Let's undo all of that and return to all. Now, let's go back to the color. We need to discuss what is the difference between the static and dynamic keyframes. By the way, the way that DaVinci advises you to create animation in here is as follows. You go to color, you go to the character that you need, you right click in here and click create dynamic keyframe. Now you move to a new position, but you enable auto keyframing. And this way, if you change something in here to something like a new value, it is going to automatically create a new keyframe, which is dynamically linked to the first one. Now we disable auto keyframing and everything is like before, but created using a third method. Let's undo all of that and let's talk about something else. Yeah, let's talk about the difference between static and dynamic keyframes. Static keyframes will introduce you a rapid jump between your corrections. Let me show you something drastic. For example, I'm going to create on a basic default value, I'm going to create a static keyframe in here. I'm going to move to a new position, change it to something that we can notice, to something that is quite severe, and add a static keyframe again. This is going to jump immediately from not having an effect to an effect, and it's going to stay this way throughout the whole end of the video. This is used when you need to change something rapidly. For example, you are doing a lighting effect and you need to change color in an instance. This is what you would use. Dynamic keyframes, on the other hand, are going to introduce a slow progression from not having an effect to an effect. Let me demonstrate it once again. Creating a dynamic keyframe, moving to a new position, introducing something like that, or maybe in something that is more drastic so we can see the difference. Add a dynamic keyframe and it's now dynamically linked. I do not really know why it is not having... Now, why it is not working as it's supposed to. Let's add a static keyframe in here and change the value to 1. You can actually use static. Yeah, this is quite nice because my next topic is how you can use static and dynamic keyframes together. Now we have created static keyframe and a dynamic keyframe. From static to dynamic, it is not going to interpolate anything. It is going to just jump to a new position. But within dynamic keyframes, it is going to show us the slow progression from not having an effect to the full strength of the effect. So we are having the effect. For some reason, I don't know why, now it is jumping to a new position, which is not having an effect. and now it is slowly progressing to the effect again. If we create a dynamic keyframe somewhere in here, it is going to slowly transition to a static keyframe and then stay as at this level, and then slowly progress once we reach the dynamic keyframe. So you can combine static and dynamic keyframes to create complicated animations. Now, modifying keyframes. If you have created a couple of static keyframes and you didn't really want to create static keyframes, you wanted to create dynamic ones, you can right click on the, just a moment, you can right click and select change to dynamic keyframe. And now the keyframe is changed to a dynamic one. You can right click again. If you select it, change to a static keyframe. Now it is changed to a static. So you do not need to undo and delete your keyframes if you want to change them to a new like type of keyframes. Also, if you change it to dynamic and then click in here and select change dynamic attributes, you can select how quickly it is going to start dissolve, end dissolve. You can alter the way how it is going to start, how it is going to end, whether it is going to be rapid at the beginning, rapid at the end, and slow in the middle, or whether it is going to be linear. You can change everything up in here. For example, something like this, and now I know, but we have nothing in here, but now I know that the effect is going to happen according to that curve. This is probably everything I wanted to talk about when it comes to animation. Now you know how to animate any parameter within your color page, which is actually really, really useful. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.